The people walking in darkness have seen a great light. On those living in the land of deep darkness, a light has dawned. You have enlarged the nation and increased their joy. They rejoice before you as people rejoice at the harvest, as warriors rejoice when dividing the plunder. For as in the day of Midian's defeat, you have shattered the yoke that burdens them, the bar across their shoulders, the rod of their oppressor. Every warrior's boot used in battle and every garment rolled in blood will be destined for burning, will be fuel for the fire. For to us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government will be on his shoulders. And he will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Of the greatness of his government and peace there will be no end. He will reign on David's throne and over his kingdom, establishing and upholding it with justice and righteousness from that time on and forever. The zeal of the Lord Almighty will accomplish this.
Yeah, okay. So, good evening, dear friends. I'm happy to give a little message on Christmas as we are approaching to celebrate the birth of Christ. I got a chance to give a little message for the youth of Pune diocese. There was a beautiful story told about a king who had a doubt that why God became man. So he asked this question to his minister, and minister gave a lot of answers. He said God became man to redeem his people. He came to rescue his people, to heal the sick, to raise the dead. But the king was not satisfied with the answers. And the king said God would have sent his angels or the saints. He was going on grumbling. And the minister tried his level best to convince the king. And he was not convinced and he was not satisfied with the answers. So the minister waited for the opportunity to teach a lesson to this king, to convince this king. And every evening they used to go for the ferry service. They used to go around the river in the ferry. And as usual they went, the minister was missing. The king waited for quite a long time. When the minister came, the king was furious, angry, and he shouted at him, "Why you were late?" And the minister said, "And because of your son, the prince was very adamant, he was crying, so I was delayed." And he wrapped the child in the cloth and he also joined with the king. When they reached the middle of the river, he threw the baby in the river and he shouted, he screamed that prince fell down in the water. And without thinking, the king just jumped into the river and he got his son. To his surprise, it was not his son, but it was a fake doll. And the king was again angry. He asked the minister what he had done. And the minister said, "Why did you jump?" And the king said, "I thought it is my son, so I myself jumped to rescue him." And the minister said, "You'd have told me, you'd have told the boatman, why did you jump?" And again the king said, "I thought this is my son, so that I myself will jump and rescue." This is what all about the Christmas. When God saw his people, the suffering, the miseries, he sent his angels, the saints, but at the end he realized, let me come down to this earth. So the God became man. The birth was very simple. Yes, my dear friends, Gospel of John chapter 3 verse 16 says, God so loved the world, he sent his only son so that we may have life. life in abundance. And if you see, the birth of Christ is in simple manner. Small village, the humble person who is known as Mary. So he did not born in the palace. He just born in the stable, in the manger. And St. Paul's letter to 2 Corinthians chapter 8 speaks, though he was born rich, though he was rich, yet for our sake he became poor. And if you see his life, only 3 years he did his ministry and he went on doing good. That's what the scripture tells us, especially the serving the poor, needy, the outcast, the marginalized. And he never boasted himself that he was Son of God. But there are places where he confronted the authorities. There he reveals, but he never spoke directly that he was Son of God. And Gospel of Mark chapter 10 verses 45. The Son of Man came to serve, not to be served, and give his life as a ransom for many. This is what about his life. So he came to serve to the humanity and in a simple manner. And at the end, he was killed, he was crucified. So one of the first identity we see in the birth of Christ is ultimate humility, because Jesus came to this world to liberate from every one of us from the bondage of sin. And also Christ came to show us the humility of a servant. That is what we see from his life. His service is very, very simple. Through his service, he redeemed every one of us. He also set an example as a Lord's Supper by washing of the feet. So it's not only did practice, but also he is giving us an message. You also do the same. Love one another as I have loved you. So my dear friends, Jesus was always humble and he submitted himself to God alone. So he received the strength and courage from God. Now the same Jesus is seeking place in our hearts to come and dwell. So let us learn from Jesus. Let us be always humble to serve others, to serve the humanity, so that the preparation for our Christmas will be the fruitful one. Let us reach out to the downtrodden people, the outcasts, the poor and needy in our simple and humble manner, so that the birth of Christ will bring fruits in abundance. Once again, wishing you all a very happy Christmas and New Year. God bless you all.